Welcome to the demo of the new Avasco Solar Calculator. In order to use the calculator, you will first have to request an account. Once that's done, you still need to verify your email address and await approval of Avasco Solar. After that, you will be able to log into the calculator. Once you've logged into the calculator, the first page you'll see is the projects overview page. On this page, you see all the projects that you have created or that have been shared with you. In order to share a project, simply press the share button to the right, enter the email address of the person you would like to share the project with, and send the invite. If your list of projects gets too big, you can always use one of the filters at the top in order to limit your search results. Now let's look at creating our own new project. New project always needs to have a name and an address. Apart from that, you can also add a project reference, client name, and/or logo. We currently support 4 backgrounds for the project, as you can see here, but for the purpose of this video, we'll stick to the Google Maps. Next, you'll reach the building page. To navigate this page, you can use your middle mouse button to zoom in or out. Use your right mouse button to change the tilt. And when you press the hand icon at the top, you can use your left mouse button to drag your screen to the top or to the bottom, to left and or right. Make sure to disable this functionality again by pressing the hand button again or the space button on your keyboard. For more keyboard shortcuts, please look at the shortcuts tab to the right. Our calculator supports multiple views, and I personally prefer the view building mode to draw buildings. Okay, now let's get started by drawing our first roof. To do so, we need to make sure that roof is selected to the left, and then we have the option to either draw a rectangular shaped or polygon shaped building. When we select polygon, all we need to do is use our left mouse button to click the corners of our roof, and the outlines will appear. Once we've completed the shape of our building, a new pop-up will appear in which we need to add the roof parameters. We need to choose the membrane type, the parapet width and parapet height, the building height, the roof slope, and the minimum edge distance. We can also enable point load calculations by checking this checkbox, and we have the option to change the name of our roof. When we press done, the building will be created. The calculator also allows us to draw multiple buildings, so for complicity's sake, let's also draw a rectangular shaped one. If we want to do some changes to our newly created buildings, we can use the select button here or use the shortcut key S. Select our building and we can change the roof parameters. We can also use the select button to move our building completely or change some outlines of it. Both the edges and corners are changeable. By pressing done, our changes will be saved. By pressing cancel, they will be undone. We can also, of course, delete our building with this button if we choose to do so. Okay, next I will show you guys how we can add an obstacle. It's quite similar to drawing our building, but we need to make sure that obstacle is selected to the left. Then again, we have multiple options, and let's start with creating a rectangular obstacle. Now the pop-up asks us whether the building or the obstacle is aligned to the roof or to the ground. We need to add a obstacle height and a offset slope. A different functionality that isn't there for roof creation is that we have the option to duplicate obstacles, which comes in quite handy if we have multiple obstacles that are the same on the roof. Now let's draw a line obstacle, which is frequently being used to draw walkways or gutters or bridges that are part of your roof. We just do the same thing as before, but if we would like to end, we just press the enter button over here, and then we just need to enter an offset zone. If we now switch to 3D mode, we can see the results of what we just created. Calculator also has the option to do some shadow simulation. To do so, simply press the shadow button at the top, select yes, choose your simulation date, UTC offset and time frame, and press apply. Now, as you can see, the shadows have been added to our drawing. If we want to turn off this functionality, we can easily press no here and apply once more. We again press next, we'll reach the environment page in which we have to select some environment characteristics. The wind speed and snow load zone have been automatically selected based on the location we added in step 1. We do have the option to manually override it. Next, we have the consequence class that we need to choose, the design lifetime, and then we have the elevation at sea level and the orography factor that is also being auto-calculated. Finally, we need to select the terrain category, and we do this by moving this part of the circle to the least favorable position, checking which terrain category matches with it and selecting it over here. Next, we can move on to the module layout step. Before actually drawing the panels on the roof, I prefer to set the view again to building. Set the background transparency to 0% and use the Alt plus Q shortcut to rotate my building to a wall that I prefer, like so. I usually also enable the roof name layer, which indicates which roof is which. This is important because we can only draw panels on the roof that's currently being selected. You can see which roof is currently selected at the top left, and you can easily switch between roofs by either using the drop-down functionality or pressing the arrow button. Now, in order to draw modules, we of course have to select modules from our database. You can use the filter option to limit the results that are being displayed. And if the module you're searching for isn't part of the database, you can always use this button to add your own module. For now, let's choose the first one. In the next step, the mounting system step, we will have to choose between the two mounting systems, namely the SolarSpeed and the Avantis system. Please note that based on the module selection, either SolarSpeed or Avantis might be unavailable because both systems have panel restrictions. For now, we'll start with drawing a SolarSpeed system. After selecting SolarSpeed, we also need to select the frame type, the orientation, the pitch, the support type, and whether we want to use L profiles solely or not. For now, let's stick with no. Next, we can choose the ballast thickness, and we see that we have a default value per ballast thickness, but we also have the option to override this option completely. Finally, we need to decide whether we want to optimize placement or not, but we'll talk about that a bit later on in this demonstration. We do have two options. We can either select autofill to fill the entire roof, or we can use the free size tool to draw our panels by hand. By using the select modules option, or the select arrays option, or the select layouts option, we can select the panels that we draw, go back to the mounting system step, and make some small adjustments to the support type, whether we want to use L profiles only, the ballast thickness, or whether we want to optimize placement, yes or no. We can also select the panels, move them around, duplicate them, or delete them completely. Another interesting thing here is that in the azimuth alignment step, we can choose to rotate our panels according to this windrows at the bottom, or we can align them to a roof. In options and settings, we can determine how big our fields need to be and what the distance between fields need to be. This is really handy because sometimes we need to have a dilatation gap between fields. Now let me press freeze size again and draw some more panels on the roof. At the top, you see that we currently have one configuration in use. If we go back to the mounting system step, select another frame type, another orientation, a pitch, and the other steps as well. We want to align to another side of the roof. You can see that it's quite easy to draw multiple panels with multiple orientations on the roof. I'll now go back to 3D mode so that we can have a nice look at the result that we currently have. All right, now let's go to roof 1 again and also add some Avantis panels on the roof as well. The big difference between Avantis and SolarSpeed in the calculator is the visualization of the ballast. For SolarSpeed, the ballast will be displayed in stacks. For Avantis, this is not the case. For Avantis, it will show how many ballast blocks need to total on that position. Once we've drawn our panels, we still have the option to add thermal breaks. This can easily be done by pressing the thermal breaks button at the top, selecting the correct roof, and pressing one of the buttons. The two on the left are for adding a horizontal or vertical dilatation. The two on the right are for removing a horizontal or vertical dilatation. When we press finish, our changes will take into effect. As you can clearly see by using the field label layer, the field that used to be one big field is now split into two fields because we added a horizontal dilatation. We also have the option to optimize placement. This is a function that we only support for the SolarSpeed East-West system. When this functionality is enabled, we are allowed to place half panels. As you can see here, we don't have enough room to place a full east-west module because of the obstacle that we have on our roof. We do, however, now have the option to place a half panel. When we turn this functionality off and do the exact same thing, you see that this option will not appear. Later on, we can choose to change certain modules from a full module to a half east or a half west module by simply selecting the modules and pressing the east or west panel. We can always select them again. And change them back to a full module. Once we're satisfied with the panels that we've placed on our roof, we can go back to 3D mode, get a nice angle, enable or disable some layers, and get a nice view of the project that we did. Next, we are able to press the next button and we'll go to the project overview page. In the project's overview page, some information about the system will be displayed. Next to it, we have the bill of material, which gives a detailed description of every item that we need, as well as some optional items that might be interesting. And finally, we can create a project report by pressing the project report button. We have the option to enable strength verification and point load overview for the PDF report. We can also create a BOM PDF, a BOM CSV, and a summary CSV file.